It's time for a super scary story. Are you ready? It's lit. So go ahead, get some snacks, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. And if you want me to do more storytime videos like this, then go ahead, give it a like. And let's go. In January of 2013, a young woman named Elisa Lamb flew to Los Angeles from Canada and checked into the Cecil Hotel. She was first placed in a hostile-style room, which she shared with another guest. But after 2 days, the front desk got a call.
Hi, I need to make a complaint. The woman I'm sharing a room with is acting very odd. I don't feel comfortable. Is there any way you could move her?
So Elisa was moved to a room of her own, and that was the last time anyone saw her. During her trip, she kept in frequent touch with her parents back home, but when they didn't hear from her when she was supposed to be leaving from Los Angeles, they became worried and called the LAPD. Around the same time, the front desk was getting more complaints.
The water pressure in the shower is so low. The tap water is all black.
So a hotel staff member went up on the roof to inspect the water tanks. He noticed that one of them was open. He looked inside, and that's when he found Elisa floating in the tank. To this day, no one knows how she got in there undetected. But there are a lot of theories. See, Elisa had bipolar disorder and depression, and was on prescription medication to help keep her in balance. She kept a blog where she wrote about her struggles with her illness and seemed to be very open about it. The most logical conclusion is that Elisa was off her medication, broke from reality, and drowned herself in the water. Another theory is that she was playing the elevator game. The elevator game is a ritual that originated on a Korean website. When performed properly, you can supposedly be transported to another dimension. In order to play, you need a building that has at least 10 levels. It's best played at night since you need to be completely alone. You enter the elevator and go to different floors in a particular order. Once you reach the 5th floor, a woman will get on with you. Whatever you do, don't look at her or speak to her. She isn't human. When you reach the 10th floor, you exit the elevator and enter another dimension. You will still be in the hotel, but only you exist. Be careful, in this dimension, your cell phone won't work and you may feel disoriented and even faint. If you wake up without taking the proper steps to come back to our world, strange things will happen. So what does the elevator game have to do with Elisa Lamb? After news spread of the bizarre death, a surveillance video from one of the hotel elevators went viral. It showed Elisa acting very oddly in an elevator, pressing random buttons, talking to seemingly nobody. Was she playing the elevator game? The Cecil Hotel has since rebranded itself to stay on Main. They could change their signs, but they can never change what happened within its walls. There's something dangerous abducting children in this area. You've heard of the Slender Man, but have you heard of the tall, slender woman? This next chapter is a Japanese urban legend called Hachi Shakusama, which means 8 feet tall. My grandparents lived in a small village in Japan. Every summer, my parents would take me there on holidays to visit them. The last time I saw them was the summer when I was 8 years old. My grandparents were inside the house, and I was playing by myself outside in the backyard. I heard a strange sound. I didn't know what it was, and it was hard to figure out where it was coming from. I was looking around, searching from the source of the noise, when I noticed something on top of the tall hedges that enclosed the backyard. It was a straw hat. It wasn't resting on the hedge, it was behind it. That's where the sound was coming from. Then, the hat began to move. It stopped in a small gap of the hedge, and I could see a face peering through. It was a woman, but the hedges were high, almost 8 feet tall. I was surprised how tall the woman was. I wondered if she was wearing stilts or some sort of huge high-heeled shoes. Then, a split second later, she walked off, and the strange noise disappeared with her, fading into the distance. Confused, I got up and ran back into the house. My grandparents were in the kitchen drinking tea. I sat down at the table and told my grandparents what I had seen. They weren't really paying attention to me until I mentioned that distinctive sound. They both froze. Grandma's eyes grew wide as she covered her mouth with her hand. Grandpa's face became very serious, and he grabbed me by the arm. "This is very important," he said, very intensely. "How tall was she?" "As tall as the garden hedge?" "Where was she standing? Where did this happen? What did you do? Did she see you?" I tried to answer all of his questions as best I could. He rushed out of the hallway and made a phone call. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but after he hung up, he walked out the door. "Grandma? What's going on?" "There's something dangerous abducting children in this area," she said. "We call it Hachi Shaku-sama. It takes on the appearance of an extremely tall woman and says, in a deep voice, a long time ago, it was captured by monks and they managed to confine it in a ruined building on the outskirts of the village. They trapped it using 4 jizo, small religious statues that they placed at the north, south, east, and west of the village so that it could not escape. But somehow, it did. Some people can be real monsters. In this next chapter, we hear about a close encounter with the killer. When Mitchell was about 12 years old, his mom Susan was set up on a blind date with a woman named Elizabeth. It went pretty well, so Susan introduced her to Mitchell. From the beginning, Mitchell had a weird feeling about her. It seemed like she didn't quite know how to interact with children, so she was always a bit distant and cold. Meanwhile, she was showering Susan with gifts and acting pretty clingy. A week after Susan and Elizabeth started dating, the 3 of them went to Susan's friend's wedding. Elizabeth wore a baggy tie-dye shirt and some basketball shorts, a very odd choice for a formal occasion. When they got there, Mitchell's eyes grew at the sight of all the food. His eyes landed on the platters of shrimp, but Susan brought him back to reality. "Don't eat any of the seafood. It was cooked with peanut oil." Mitchell sighed in disappointment. He loved shrimp, but was allergic to peanuts. Later in the evening, Elizabeth approached Mitchell at the table, holding a plate of shrimp and smiling widely. "Look, a guest brought some seafood cooked without peanut oil. Isn't that lucky? Your mom asked me to bring this to you. Enjoy." She placed the plate in front of Mitchell and walked away. Mitchell looked around to see if he could spot his mom and get her nod of approval, but he couldn't see her. Being a young kid, he didn't overthink it and ate the shrimp. It was just as delicious as he hoped it would be, so he ate another and another until his throat swelled up until it couldn't swell up anymore. Susan spotted Mitchell across the room, covered in hives and struggling to breathe, and she quickly called an ambulance. Once Mitchell was okay and everything had calmed down, Susan scolded him. "I told you not to eat the seafood. Why didn't you listen to me?" "It was Elizabeth. She said it didn't have peanut oil. She said you told her to give it to me." Susan looked over at Elizabeth. "Oh, poor kid. He's delusional from the medication." A week later, Susan called things off with Elizabeth. She believed Mitchell when he told her that Elizabeth had tricked him, and she couldn't stand the thought of being with someone who would intentionally cause harm to her child. Just to be safe, they changed their number so Elizabeth couldn't get a hold of them. Years had passed, and they had forgotten about Elizabeth until this past summer when they turned on the news.
Her job was to care for the elderly and comfort the ill, but former nurse Elizabeth Wetlaufer is now one of Canada's worst serial killers. The woman they called Beth was charged today with 8 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She had killed her loved ones, all by way of insulin overdoses. In a chilling confession to police, Wetlaufer claimed, "They were annoying." Wetlaufer was found guilty of professional misconduct. "We have to make sure this woman gets the justice she deserves. She had no right to do what she did. I think she's sick, literally sick." Oh my God. If you guys enjoyed those stories, please be sure to give it a like and comment down below if you want me to do another one. Yeah, man.